Hello everyone, you're watching L24 Nightly News with me, Mariam Zian. To the headlines. For the second consecutive day, the presidential voting in Algeria continued at mobile polling stations designated for residents of remote areas in the southern provinces of the country. High voter turnout among the Algerian diaspora at presidential election voting continues worldwide for the fourth consecutive day. Next, Algeria seeks stronger partnership with Beijing during China-Africa Cooperation Forum Summit. Also coming up tonight, 17 Palestinians were killed in Israeli strikes in Gaza and the West Bank, and Hamas rejects ceasefire negotiations reset. And Algerian Paralympic team celebrates historic success in Paris with 5 gold and 4 bronze medals. Hello again and welcome to the details of our news program. For the second consecutive day, the presidential voting process in Algeria continued at mobile polling stations designated for residents of remote areas in the southern provinces of the country. The voting process involves 116,064 registered voters across 134 polling stations in 55 municipalities distributed over 16 provinces. The regional offices of the Independent National Election Authority confirmed the provision of all necessary material and human resources to ensure the process runs smoothly. Voting in the province of Oued-Souf has officially begun through mobile polling stations, with the process set to last 3 days. Early this morning, citizens turned out in the Arab Student Border District to cast their votes in an election that will determine the next president of Algeria. Local election officials are ensuring smooth operations with all necessary facilities in place to allow voters to fulfill their electoral duties.
I'm here to fulfill my electoral duty, and I encourage all young people to come out and vote as well, with hope that the president we elect will bring prosperity and good to our country. May God bless us with peace, progress, and the support we need. I'm confident the new president will work to improve things, and with God's guidance, everything will get better.
The Hama province has 9 mobile polling stations distributed across 4 municipalities. The electoral process started this morning under well-organized conditions with all necessary resources provided by ANI in Algeria.
I came to vote for Algeria. I wish all the best for our country. I cast my vote and believe I choose the one who will serve the nation best. I wish all the best for Algeria and a better life for all Algerians. As for me, I voted for Algeria. What matters to us is that the Algerian flag continues to fly high. That is our goal. It is a legacy for our martyr ancestors, and we continue their path.
In Tamanrasset province, the electoral process is proceeding normally across 29 mobile polling stations despite recent rain. The stations serve over 21,000 voters across 5 municipalities. Mobile station number 26, with 1,800 registered voters, is seeing strong turnout, especially among women.
The mobile office from Tamnarast has come for the presidential election. We hope that all citizens will participate in the vote. Today we are in Delek, located about 40 kilometers from Tamnarast. All Algerians must fulfill their national duty. We must all mobilize the nation, from the north to the south, from the east to the west. Everything is for the country, so that Algeria remains up to standard. There are more than 25 mobile offices traveling through the deserts and the Sahara to collect the votes of Algerian citizens and facilitate the exercise of their electoral duty.
In Tindouf, southwest Algeria, mobile voting offices are helping residents in remote areas cast their votes. Voters are pleased with the conditions and hope the election will address their needs. The Tindouf electoral delegation supervises 11 mobile offices across the municipalities of Amelou and Tindouf.
We opened our offices and centers in Hassi Munir and its surrounding areas, and we hope for success for the new president and for Algeria. God willing, there will be a good and blessed president for Algeria. Long live Algeria. Our first stop was yesterday in the outskirts of Munir, and then we moved to the village, where citizens cast their votes in an atmosphere of comfort and suitable conditions. Today we moved to Wadi Sibti, where the nomadic population lives. We've come to Wadi Rqaibi area, and we have brought citizens to nomadic areas to vote. What I want to say as an observer is that everything is going well, and things are on the track.
In the province of Ingazam, Ani is preparing for the voting process. Voting has begun on September 4th at 3 mobile stations and will continue until September 7th at 9 fixed centers and 62 polling stations in Ingazam and Tin Zouatine.
The presidential elections on September 7th are considered the first presidential vote organized in the province of Ingazam. The event is of great importance to us. The success of this event on September 7th will also be regarded as success for the province of Ingazam, as it is one of the 10 new provinces. The electorate in Ingazam consists of 34,945 voters. To ensure the smooth running of the process, the National Agency for the Implementation of Elections delegates are prepared. As for the official opening of the vote in our 3 mobile offices within the province, 1 in the municipality of Ingazam and 2 in Tin Zouatine, it officially took place on September 4, 2024.
A provincial delegation of Ani in Lerwat, south of the Algerian capital, has put the final touches on the mobile polling stations, which are set to begin operations on Friday. The provincial coordinator of Ani confirmed to our channel that the province of Lerwat includes 4 mobile polling stations serving an electorate of over 1,400 voters. As in other southern Algerian provinces, the delegation of the Independent National Election Authority in Adrar has completed all logistical preparations for the upcoming presidential election. On Friday, the mobile polling station will start operating across the province to ensure that residents in remote areas can vote in optimal conditions.
على مستوى المندوبية الولائية لولاية أدرار قمنا ب
At the level of the Adrar province delegation, We have taken the necessary measures to properly prepare the voting centers throughout the entire province, as well as the mobile polling stations. The preparations are proceeding in an excellent atmosphere. The voting process is set to begin on September 6, 2024, starting with the mobile polling stations in all regions. For Adrar, we have 4 mobile polling stations out of a total of 536 voting stations.
التحضيرات كلها جارية لهذا المجال.
In Ouargla province, southern Algeria, ANIES finalized preparations for the upcoming election, focusing on the distribution of ballot papers to coordinators in the 8 municipalities ahead of Saturday's vote. Voting at mobile polling stations in Ouargla started on Wednesday, with six stations operating in the border district of El Bourma, serving over 8,000 registered voters. The election authority in Ouargla has also registered more than 200,000 voters across the province.
We are today in the headquarters of Ouargla province, where we have saved ballot papers at the level of our offices, and we are now about to deliver these documents relating to ballot papers to the municipal delegates coordinators first thing first. So this final operation for us is considered as necessary preparation.
With the September 7th election approaching, the province of Mghadr in southern Algeria is seeing significant engagement from young people who are sharing their hopes and expectations for the upcoming vote. The local youth have collectively stressed the critical importance of economic development and job creation. They have also called for increased participation of young people in investments, especially in agricultural projects.
I hope that in the 7 September presidential election, the elected president will take into consideration the young population, and we hope that the new president will be up to our aspirations and expectations.
We want the government to take into consideration the youth, because they are the future of Algeria. That's the first thing. And also to take care of Al Mghayr province, because here you can find whatever you search, for including agriculture and many other fields. We just need support.
And Algerians living abroad continue for the 4th consecutive day to cast their votes in the snap presidential elections at polling stations distributed across 5 continents. This process will continue until Saturday. The Independent National Election Authority in Algeria has designated 117 diplomatic and consular services as voting centers for Algerians abroad. It also stated that the polling stations will be open from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. local time. In Marseille, members of the Algerian national community are heading to the polls for the 4th consecutive day. Voters have expressed satisfaction with the organization of the process, especially the transportation provided to polling stations. The turnout has been significant, and voters are optimistic about their voices will help shape Algeria's future with hopes for greater inclusion and development programs.
On the 4th day of the presidential elections, the Algerian community is turning out in strong numbers, demonstrating their commitment to their national duty in every electoral phase and in times of crisis for Algeria. Today, thanks to increased awareness, outreach efforts, and the work of the associations, along with support of the Consulate General and the Independent Election Authority, all mechanisms have been put in place to facilitate the voting process. The turnout is remarkable. We also take this opportunity to urge all Algerians residing in Marseille to come forward in large numbers to participate in this important election.
We urge the Algerian community to vote because it is both a right and a duty. It allows us to have a say in choosing the person who will lead the country in the future. It is our duty to preserve the institutions of the state and uphold our national dignity.
I chose this day to fulfill my electoral duty towards my country, and I'm happy to contribute to its prosperity through my participation.
In France, the Algerian community is benefiting from 150 polling stations set up across the country. ANI has ensured that all necessary measures are in place to receive voters, resulting in high participation from the Algerian community.
I decided to vote today because I noticed there are officials who are genuinely working hard and making efforts to develop Algeria for the better. It will take time, but it is not impossible. That's why I came out to vote today.
In northern France, the Algerian community continues to flock individually and in groups to polling stations in Lille to cast their votes for the September 7th election. Voters confirmed that exercising their constitutional right aims to uphold the constitutional process and affirm their connection to their homeland.
We must vote. It is a constitutional right. I invite everyone to come and choose the right president. We should all participate. I have fulfilled my national duty for the best of our country, Algeria. Come here and vote.
Ça représente que je suis quand même algérienne.
I am Algerian even though I live in France. I am proud to participate in the election to choose our future president.
Je viens de la ville de Lille en particulier, bien sûr.
I believe that the electoral duty is very important. I call on all Algerians around the world to exercise their right to vote. Today, we have a crucial role to play in building the new Algeria. Long live Algeria!
Vive l'Algérie unie indivisible, وتحيا الجزائر.
Members of the Algerian community in Naples, southern Italy, turned out in large numbers at polling stations to the third consecutive day to cast their votes in the Algerian presidential elections. The recent reopening of the General Consulate in Naples has provided a significant boost to the Algerian community, driving up voter turnout in this key electoral district. This district ranks as the second largest in Italy in terms of registered Algerian voters. 5 polling stations have been set up, including a permanent station at the General Consulate and 4 mobile stations that are traveling to various cities across southern Italy.
This is the first time I am voting for my country, and I'm very proud. Today, I fulfilled my electoral duty, and I encourage all Algerians to also carry out their voting responsibilities for the benefit of the country.
لأجل يعني مصلحة البلد تاعنا.
أنا نادية. أنا ولدت وكبرت في إيطاليا.
My name is Nadia. I was born and raised in Italy, and out of love for my Algerian roots, I came to the polling station to fulfill my electoral duty and cast my vote in this presidential election.
استحقاق رئاسي.
اليوم جيت تقدمت لمصالح القنصلية الجزائرية العامة بنابولي.
Today I went to the Algerian consulate in Naples to fulfill my electoral duty and cast my vote. We urge the Algerian community to participate actively and fulfill their national duty to facilitate and manage the democratic process.
تاعها من أجل تسهيل وتسيير المسار الديمقراطي الجزائري.
أنا جيت نعيش في نابولي.
I live in Naples and came to cast my vote for the first time. Believe me, I came with all my heart and joy because Algeria needs us more than ever. We must stand united.
لازم الوقت هذا لازم نكونوا صح يد واحد.
In Spain, voter turnout grew to 7 at the 7 polling stations managed by the Consulate General in Barcelona. On the 4th day of voting in Zaharoca, there was high turnout by the Algerian community with high participation at the 4th mobile polling station as well.
We are here today to fulfill our electoral duty, and even though we live abroad, but we still care about our country. Elections are important. Long live Algeria.
On est là dans le bureau numéro 4 des élections présidentielles de Saragosse, d'Algérie.
Here we are at polling station number 4 in Zaragoza. What we have noticed is the well-organized election process. Voters have come here to fulfill their electoral duty in a wonderful and unique family-friendly atmosphere. It's truly a celebration. Therefore, I urge everyone to come and vote and fulfill their electoral duty.
On ne doit pas oublier notre devoir électoral.
In London Electoral District, the voting for the Algerian presidential elections is ongoing for the Algerian community in the UK. The process, which started on Monday, will continue until next Saturday. The polling station closed at 7 p.m. on Thursday and will reopen at 8 a.m. local time on Friday. Voter turnout has been significantly high since early Thursday morning.
During these days, we all need to fulfill our electoral duty as Algerian citizens living in London. It is very important that we contribute to this national duty and take pride in it, because we cannot express our opinions on the positive and negative of the situation unless we have first fulfilled our electoral duty and chosen the person we believe is suitable for the position.
I hope that today every Algerian living in the UK will fulfill their electoral duty because their vote is important. I'm here today to cast my vote because I know that my vote is crucial for Algeria, just as we ask the authorities to provide us with our rights. And what we need is also our duty to cast our votes. Therefore, I urge every Algerian citizen from every home to come out and participate in the elections, as everyone has a role and a significance in our country.
This morning, a convoy began the transfer of ballot boxes from the General Consulate in London to Glasgow, Belfast and Cardiff. The operation is being managed by the Independent Algerian Electoral Authority in the UK, which has deployed a team to oversee and supervise, facilitate the process.
After opening the polling stations in London, Manchester and Birmingham, the team from the General Consulate is set to travel to Belfast, Glasgow and Cardiff to open additional polling stations starting from tomorrow, September 6, 2024.
And regarding the election in the UK, we're joined live by our special envoy, Islam Seed, from London for more details. So, Islam, what is the latest you have observed about the election right there?
Good evening, Mariam. Good evening, dear viewers. As the fourth day of the Algerian elections comes to a close, the overall atmosphere here in the UK marked by positivity. The community here continues to engage in their electoral duties with optimism, let's say so. Today, we witnessed a noticeable increase in the number of voters compared to the previous days, reflecting a rising interest in the electoral process among the community. The organization of the polling centers was meticulous, with intensive efforts from the supervising committee to ensure that the process runs smoothly and transparently. Voter turnout is expected to rise in the remaining 3 days until Sunday, especially with the opening of polling stations in both Manchester and Birmingham. Tomorrow, additional polling stations will be opened in Belfast, Glasgow and Cardiff to facilitate the voting process for the Algerian community residing there.
Thank you very much, Islam, for the details and all the updates. Thank you very much, and we move to the rest of our news regarding the presidential election in Algeria. So in the Russian capital, Moscow, the Algerian community continues its voting process for the fourth consecutive day. On Thursday, there was a notable turnout among community members, particularly students who fulfilled their electoral duties. The Algerian community living in Turkey is actively participating in the snap presidential elections at the polling stations in Istanbul. On the fourth day of voting, there has been a significant turnout, particularly from young students residing in Istanbul. The voting process will continue until next Saturday.
Everything was organized. The operation of voting went fast and smoothly. It's my first time voting, but I found no hardship here, especially that they offered us all what we need here at the level of the consulate. It's important for us to vote, because we have reached the voting age to do that, so we can do it now.
In the Qatar capital of Doha, the Algerian community is voting for the fourth consecutive day at the Algerian embassy. Voters have highlighted the significance of their participation, stressing the importance of fulfilling their national duty. They expressed hope that this electoral process will further advance the country's democratic development.
We came today to answer the call of duty by exercising our rights to vote and fulfilling our national obligation with this blessed step, God willing, on the path of democracy that has been paved for many years in Algeria, of which we are proud. We hope, of course, for all the best for our country as we perform our national duty in this presidential election. We hope that this will be a building block for our country, Algeria, for our people, and for our nation.
ونتمنى الخير لشعبنا ولبلادنا.
Don't forget that the Algerian community living abroad are also Algerians, and they have both the right and the duty towards Algeria. When Algeria calls, we are ready to fulfill our duty, because it is important for us to do so. On the contrary, we are all proud and happy to be Algerian, and I'm here today to vote with that spirit.
The national community is always present at electoral events and political appointments, and the political process must continue regardless of the circumstances. Today we are here to fulfill our electoral duty, and all conditions are in place. The embassy is ready and has provided all the necessary resources for voting, and everything is prepared for this.
We came here, like other members of the national community, to fulfill our electoral duty. The process was smooth, and our thanks go to all the staff of the embassy.
The embassy's polling office was open from 7:30 a.m. to 7 p.m. local time. Many Algerian voters in China cast their votes in the presidential election with a turnout of 30% from about 400 registered voters. Voting will continue at the main office on Friday and Saturday in sync with the domestic elections.
We have recorded a significant percentage so far, with more than 25% of registered voters on the electoral list. We expect this percentage to increase, especially since Saturday here in a public holiday. The embassy has already initiated a major awareness campaign regarding this election. We are waiting for the percentage to become substantial.
عمل تحسيسي كبير تحضيرا لهذا الاقتراع الهام. ننتظر أن تكون النسبة معتبرة.
الحمد لله لحقنا رانا وصلنا في الوقت.
Thank God, we managed to take on time despite a long workday and the fact that workplace is far from the embassy. However, we are determined to come and fulfill our national duty, which is also a constitutional right for every Algerian who meets the conditions.
جينا مساء اليوم باش نأدوا الواجب الانتخابي تاعنا.
We will fulfill our electoral duty and choose a president for the country. The embassy has made efforts and provided the conditions for us to vote.
باش نفوتي.
The Algerian community in Canada is increasingly flocking to polling stations for the fifth consecutive day to cast their ballot as part of the September 7 presidential elections. The Algerian consulate in Montreal witnessed a significant turnout of community members at the 4 offices of the electoral district, which count more than 12,000 registered voters in the cities of Montreal, Laval, and Quebec.
The National Independent Electoral Authority has mobilized all the conditions in collaboration with the General Consulate to ensure and guarantee an election in the best possible conditions. We have prepared an electoral list and we have split the voters across the 4 polling stations. We have trained all the staff working at the polling stations and we have worked in close collaboration with the candidates to appoint their official representatives.
The Algerian community in the U.S. is flocking to 15 polling stations to cast their ballots and elect their future president. A special envoy, Karim Fess, tells us more.
On day 3 of the Algerian presidential elections overseas, the Algerian community in the U.S. continues to turn out at the 15 polling stations spread across various cities and states. Algerians are making their voices heard in this pivotal election, which will determine the country's leader for the next 5 years. Our crew visited 3 of these voting sites over the past 3 days in Manhattan, New York City. The first day of voting coincided with Labor Day, so while the turnout was decent, it didn't quite meet the expectations. Algerian voters abroad emphasized the importance of participating in this election, urging fellow citizens to step up, fulfill their national duty, and exercise their civil rights.
Being an Algerian citizen, that's the last thing we can do. We're trying to show up on time. It's an election day. It's a big event for me. And being a U.S. Army and Algerian citizen, the election was nice and smooth. The stuff, everything was easy. Well, it was well organized. And we're hoping for the better.
On the second day, the turnout didn't quite pick up as polling stations officials had hoped. This was largely expected, though, as many Algerian families were occupied with the start of the new school year. Despite these challenges, officials noted that the turnout remains promising, however, especially compared to previous elections.
It's been really great, alhamdulillah. There have been no issues. Everything has been smooth sailing, all thanks to the Algerian consulate and for their support and aid and provision of the necessary resources and tools, as well to the Independent Election Authority and allowing us this opportunity to exercise people's rights.
While Algerians abroad continue to encourage one another to participate in this election, recognizing it as a vital moment for their homeland, the 2024 Algerian presidential election overseas is witnessing a qualitative improvement in voter participation and smoother operations, thanks to the Algerian state's efforts in providing all the necessary support to consulates and embassies.
In other developments, Algerian Foreign Minister Ahmed Attaf highlighted Algeria's desire to strengthen its partnership with China through the Belt and Road Initiative. At the 4th China-Africa Cooperation Forum Summit, Attaf emphasized that the initiative aligns with Algeria's goals for regional integration, including infrastructure projects that connect Algeria with neighboring countries in Africa. He praised the initiative's achievements and called for greater focus on addressing financing challenges by improving collaboration between African financial institutions and Chinese counterparts.
تحرص الجزائر كل الحرص منذ انضمامها إلى مبادرة الحزام والطريق.
Since joining the Belt and Road Initiative, Algeria has been very keen to strengthen its partnerships with China in the field of priority infrastructure projects. My country also aspires to expand this cooperation to include supporting Algeria's efforts aimed at strengthening regional integration by creating networks of interconnection, exchange, and interaction at all levels in our regional spaces. Algeria insists on the need to maintain this new pace in the joint construction of the Belt and Road Initiative in order to ensure an optimal response to the needs and priorities of African countries. My country also stresses the need to focus our efforts on the greatest challenge we are facing in this context, namely the financing challenge.
In the same context, the Algerian Foreign Minister Ahmed Attaf praised the uniqueness of the African-Chinese partnership, which is based on shared historical friendship and solidarity relations. Mr. Attaf hailed the values of mutual respect and shared benefit on which the African-Chinese partnership is based, in addition to the fact that it is far from the approach of political bargaining and provocative exchanges.
العلاقات الإفريقية الصينية
Sino-African relations are based on a common historical legacy marked by friendship, solidarity, and mutual respect. A legacy rooted in China's support for African peoples to break free from hegemony and occupation, followed by the recognition of African countries through support for China's restoration of its well-deserved position in the UN and for a united and unified China. The Belt and Road Initiative is based on shared values and mutual benefit and mutual respect, in addition to the principle of equal sovereignty of states, far from political overbidding and provocative bartering in return of development support.
And updates on the situation in occupied Palestine right after the break. Israeli forces have carried out 2 new massacres in Gaza, bringing the number of martyrs to 17 and the injured to 56 within 24 hours. On Thursday, the Palestinian Ministry of Health reported that the death toll from the ongoing Israeli assault on Gaza has reached 40,878 martyrs and 94,454 injured since October 7. Many victims remain trapped under rubble and on the streets, inaccessible to emergency and civil defense teams. On Thursday, 6 young Palestinians were killed and 2 more were injured when an Israeli drone targeted a vehicle in Tubas, northeast of the West Bank. The Palestinian Ministry of Health reported that Tubas Government Hospital received 5 martyrs and several injured individuals early in the morning, with 1 in critical condition. Later on, the death toll rose to 6 after Israeli forces fired 3 rockets at a Palestinian vehicle north of Tubas. The Palestinian Islamic Resistance Movement Hamas unequivocally rejected any attempts to return to square one in the ceasefire negotiations concerning the Gaza Strip. Khalil Al-Haya, deputy chairman of Hamas in Gaza, reiterated the movement's adherence to the terms previously agreed upon following the UN Security Council's decision In President Joe Biden's statement, he stressed that Hamas does not require any new proposals or documents from any party and firmly rejects returning to square one or engaging in a cycle of uselessness.
We don't need new proposals. Any new proposal, regardless of the party, must primarily aim to force the occupation and its fascist government to implement what has been agreed upon, rather than going back to square one or continuing the futile cycle that serves Netanyahu's desires and objectives.
Al-Haya disclosed that Hamas's leadership and factions have started reaching out to mediators in international countries to address what they see as Netanyahu's attempt to evade and deceive, hindering the progress toward an agreement.
Any agreement must include a complete cessation of aggression against the Palestinian people, a total withdrawal from the Gaza Strip, including the Philadelphia Corridor and the Rafah crossing point, the unrestricted and unimpeded return of displaced persons to their homes, humanitarian aid for our people, and the reconstruction of what the occupation has destroyed, in order to reach a serious and genuine agreement on prisoner exchanges.
Hamas leader asserted that any agreement must encompass a complete cessation of aggression against the Palestinian people, a total withdrawal of occupying forces from the Gaza Strip, including the Philadelphia Corridor, as well as the return of displaced persons and the reconstruction of affected areas.
The Hamas leadership and the factions behind it started communicating with mediators and the countries of the world to clarify the state of the negotiations, the obstruction and the prevarication carried out by Netanyahu. We will not allow any agreement that detracts from its rights to stop the aggression, relief, reconstruction, and the withdrawal of the enemy.
In different matters, Algeria, along with other nations in the UN Security Council, has commended the progress made in Syria's destruction of chemical weapons. During a Security Council session, Algeria's UN representative Ahmad Benjama emphasized the importance of condemning the use of chemical weapons and praised Syria's completion of the destruction of all chemical weapons production facilities.
The A3+ reiterate its firm belief that the use of chemical weapons anywhere, by anyone, and under any circumstances must be condemned. We remain committed to ensuring accountability for such actions under international law.
Ahmad Benjama has called for continued cooperation between Syria and the OPCW to address any remaining concerns regarding chemical weapons.
We also encourage the Syrian Arab Republic to continue its cooperation to address the outstanding issues in accordance with the provision of the Chemical Weapons Convention. The A3+ believes that maintaining open channels of communication and fostering a spirit of collaboration is crucial for the successful resolution of outstanding matters. In this respect, we encourage Syria's continuing engagement with the OPCW.
French President Emmanuel Macron has tasked Michel Barnier with forming the next government nearly 2 months after the political deadlock. Barnier, the former EU negotiator for Brexit, has been appointed as the Prime Minister following the early legislative elections. Macron opted not to form a government with the New People's Front, the leading left-wing coalition, due to its lack of an absolute majority, and also rejected his candidate for Prime Minister, Lucie Castet.
c'est une très bonne nouvelle. Néanmoins, la tentation semble encore présente pour le président de composer.
Russian President Vladimir Putin has stated that Ukraine's recent offensive in the Kursk region has failed to slow Russia's advance in the Donbas. Speaking at the Eastern Economic Forum, Putin claimed that Ukraine's decision to redeploy trained units weakened its defenses, allowing Russia to push forward in eastern Ukraine.
Для того, чтобы выбросить противника с этих территорий. Получилось или нет? Нет, у противника ничего.
Did they succeed? No, they did not. Our armed forces have stabilized the situation and are gradually pushing the enemy out of the border areas. Our advances have not slowed down. In fact, by moving large, well-prepared forces to the border, the enemy weakened themselves in key areas, allowing us to speed up our operations.
President Vladimir Putin has indicated that Russia is ready to end the war in Ukraine if talks return to the outcomes of the Istanbul Agreement reached early in the conflict. He suggested that countries like China, India, and Brazil could act as mediators in potential peace negotiations.
Мы практически все.
We had nearly reached all parameters for a peace agreement with the government in Kiev. Everything was agreed upon, and it was a done deal. But then, external influences arrived, pushing the Ukrainians to continue fighting, aiming for a strategic defeat of Russia. This is not happening.
The Russian Defense Ministry announced a major airstrike on weapon factories and storage sites in Lviv, a NATO logistics hub and Kiev system in western Ukraine. The strike also destroyed a training center with foreign experts in northern Ukraine. The ministry stated that precision-guided weapons were used to target military-industrial facilities in Lviv, which were involved in producing and maintaining aviation and missile components with NATO support. The Ukrainian Air Defense Forces reported that it shot down 60 out of 78 Russian drones launched in the previous night's attack. The statement posted on Telegram also confirmed that Russia used an Iskander-M ballistic missile in the assault. Meanwhile, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky noted that the Ukrainian military is successfully completing all assigned tasks in its operations in the Kursk region. Ukrainian forces made a surprise incursion into Russian territory on August 6 and remain active in Kursk. We move now to some sports news, where Algerian sprinter Iskander Atmani Jamil secured his second gold medal at the 2024 Paris Paralympic Games after winning the 400-meter final with a time of 47.43 seconds. With this victory, Atmani has increased Algeria's medal count to 5. Algerian judoka Abdelkader Bouhammar also won a gold medal at the 2024 Paris Paralympic Games. Bouhammar's gold came after his victory in the men's 60 kilograms judo final, where he defeated the 2022 world champion Iran Saeed Abbasi by Wazari. In the same category, fellow Algerian judoka Ishaq Ould Khouider won the bronze medal after defeating Brazilian opponent Mark in the men's 60 kilograms bout. President Abdelmajid Tebboune congratulated Algeria's Paralympic champions Iskander Atmani and Safia Jalal for their gold medals, as well as Nassima Saifi for her bronze. He expressed Algeria's pride in their achievements. Following Bouammar's victory, President Abdelmajid Tebboune also congratulated him on winning the gold in judo, sharing a message on his official account, saying congratulations to champion Abdelkader Bouammar for the gold medal in judo at the Paralympic Games. End of quote. The president commended the athlete's achievement, noting that he honored Algeria's national colors in this prestigious event. Ladies and gentlemen, our program has come to an end. Thank you for watching, and I also want to extend my thanks to our technical staff and our colleagues in the newsroom. Thank you very much. Have a good night.